put our hands together as we welcome on board Professor Olinga Taeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ACCSA, for inviting me, and Professor Adebayo for inviting me.
Thank you.
Let me start by saying, by the way, that is not 103 trillion, it's million, it's $103 trillion.
Wow.
The global market. And the committee is about 7 of us that control that market. Okay, so let me, I'm an old man, I'm 61, and it's been a long time since I've been to Nigeria. But I retired back in 2008 when at the age of 48, I did what most finance people do, which is follow the money. It was ingrained in me, I would look every day. I had a company on NASDAQ, company on the London Stock Exchange. I would do what all people involved in the financial business do. I had 9,000 staff, is just look at the FTSE 100, look at my share price, look at NASDAQ, look at just constantly track money. And as you know, in forensic accountancy, you're taught to follow the money, and that will tell you the story. But let me tell you, that is no longer the case. That is no longer valid. And in fact, you are behind the curve completely if you follow the money. I gave a speech recently to central bankers around the world. And I said to them, what will be the currency of 2030, which is the United Nations SDG year, 2030? Not one central banker in the room said money. Not one. They said it's either data or sentiment or ideology. And let me kind of elaborate why these have become the new currencies of the world, where accountants must now follow the data and not the money, because the money follows data. Data does not follow money. If we look at, what we're all familiar with, Facebook and ACCSA are on Instagram, for example, aren't they? And Twitter and so on. If you follow these West Coast data companies in the States, like Facebook and Google and Amazon, etc., they believe data belong to corporates. And that the money, when they have your data, the money will follow. Because they go, look, I've given you this product for free. Instagram, Facebook, I've given you these things for free. Just shut up. Now give me your data. Give me your data so I can sell you more things. Because with your data, I know how to sell you things. I know what you're worried about, what concerns you. And so they take your data and they sell you stuff. And the way they do it is they do something called sentiment analysis. They read, using AI, machine learning, every single word of your WhatsApp, every single word of your Gmail. They don't want to know, they don't care really who you're talking to. What they're looking for are the sentiments around keywords. So if I write to you and I go, my knee hurts right now, they go, Olinga's knee hurts. He's got a negative sentiment about the word knee. What mobile is he using? Where is his location? GPS. What browser is he using? Put an advert on knees on his browser. And that's why we go, how did they know? How did they know? As I was worried about my knees. It's because they are monitoring our conversation. So they use data about you to sell you more stuff. And in some occasions, depending on who pays them, they go to influence the way you vote, the way your ideology is. And people will know that, there's a lot of cases around the Russian government, paying people through companies like Cambridge Analytica to influence the way they voted for Trump. So data belongs to corporates in America. if you look at Europe, Europe believes my data, my way. And they go, you know, you would have done GDPR, you've heard of it, and all we do is hit cookie acceptance buttons 30 times a day. Okay, that hasn't really worked. In China, they believe data belongs to government because they say the population is too large to worry about individual rights. They have a responsibility to look after 1.4 billion people and 72 BRI countries, One Belt, One Road countries. Afghanistan is 70. And they say, to do that, we need your data to safeguard corpus of society. So they use technologies like blockchain, like AI, like 5G, like Internet of Things to monitor their people. And of course, in the West, they will say to control their people. They will say to safeguard their people. And they use data to protect or safeguard their society. So data has become the new currency of the world. And through that, they can decide on who gets rich and who gets poor. You know, in China, we have something called we have a social credit system where they reward good actors in society that they consider to be good actors, and they punish those who they don't consider to be good actors in their society. They allow them to go first class or abroad or have bank accounts, etc., using their data that they accumulate from things like WeChat and monitoring their communication. So the first thing I want to teach you, or I apologize, that's very patronizing, isn't it? To tell you is that data is one of the currencies of the world going forward, not money. And because money, you know, money tells a story, but it's a very small story. Data tells you lots of things around where that's going. Now, you know, we ask ourselves, okay, so where does that take our learning? You know, as accountants, as forensic accountants, and so on, where does that go? You know, we are doing what the previous speaker is from UAE. We're doing a bank for the UAE, and we bank. The bank will not only bank traditional hard assets like land and money and diamonds and gold, but also intangible assets like happiness and tolerance, because in the UAE, they have a Department of Happiness and the Department of Tolerance. And so they are use this new digitization of assets. And by assets, they don't mean just money assets, they mean also non-financial assets to move their society into a better place. And so if you wish to be working in this field, you know, you've got to understand that in 10 years' time, just talking about money will be quite a redundant idea because the world is moving that way. So that bank will allow those who are providing happiness to society and tolerance to society, according to the ministries, to have better interest rates and lower loan rates, and so on. So again, you can see the financial instruments that we're all used to follow the sentiment, how we feel about things, not the other way around. Many of you will have heard of things like, you know, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a very interesting example of the way the digitization of value is going. It started back in 78, and and at that time, some time ago now, of course, at that time, sorry, 98, not 78. At that time, people were talking about, you know, I can send you, I can give you money, no problem. But if I have to put money, send you money by bank transfer, wow, what problems is this? AML, anti-money laundering, KYC, know your customer. I'm charged exorbitant rates by companies like Western Union who do remittance. You know, 14%, even has 18% to send money home. That's almost a fifth of your money they'll take for their excuse is to comply with AML, KYC, etc. And banks take your money. And so if I can email you, if I can WhatsApp you, why can't I just digitally send money to you? Now, the problem here is that anything digital can be copied. So if I have something that I want to, as digital, like art or anything really, I can make 10 copies of it and I can send you one. You won't know that you received it and that there's 9 others who also could have received it. So in order for something to be a currency, when you transact it, one party has to lose it and the other party has to gain it, okay? And digital, that's very difficult, isn't it? So they developed a technology called blockchain that will actually mean that you can track data. This, not track money, but track data as it goes from one person. It says you've lost it, and the other person has gained it. And thereby was born Bitcoin, that you can transfer money across. And, Bitcoin, as you will know, started as nothing. 2 years ago, it was about, say, $3,500. Today, it's about $55,000. So it's a very high investment sector right now. The thing about cryptocurrency in general is not so much a transaction of money, but the fact that it can capture the non-financial assets as well, because everything, it can capture values. And that's why 82 countries in the world, 82% of countries in the world now are developing their own digital currency for their country. That means, of course, in China, we released our own, the digital yuan, so that they don't have the reliance on the dollar because they feel the dollar has too much influence. And the Trump era certainly made people nervous. In Britain, where I am right now, we are releasing we have come out with a committee to do digital currency for the country, like a Brexit coin, if you imagine. And in many countries, they are now bringing out their own currencies digitally, because it can convey, for example, the Nigerian culture and value sets. And China now has a currency that can convey the Chinese value sets to 73 countries around the world. And they can transact using those value sets. Now, people often say to me, surely values and money, how are they connected? They're not connected, surely, because money is just a thing, something that you give to others. Well, let me give you an example. If I say to one of the people in the audience, there's a guy behind the audience right now with a red tie. I can see him at the back. If I say, I will give you $100,000 for that red tie, he will say, wow, here it is. I'll DHL it to you right now. And I say to you, but I'm going to pay you in KKK coins, Ku Klux Klan coins. He does not need to understand about cryptocurrency. He will say, you're offending my sensibilities, my values. I don't believe in the values of KKK, so I will not accept your transaction. Also, I don't have KKK in the community of areas where I can spend the money. So what's the point of having a currency you cannot spend? So values and money are very closely associated. And what this new digital area of assets, of cryptocurrencies, of tokens, etc., does, it can match them together. For example, in Nigeria, you can match a certain part of the country and say, if you're from this country, your data shows that you're from this part, you will have a lesser interest rate or a better interest rate. You will have these facilities and you'll be able to make these transactions. So it's not about policing, because policing is now very difficult. Indeed, cryptocurrency has made it very difficult to police, because one of the features of cryptocurrency is that it's anonymous from the person who sends it and the person who receives it. All you can see is the money that's gone, the time and the date is stamped. You don't know who's come from and who's gone to. And that's why it became very popular for the criminal fraternity. It became the currency of choice for drug dealers, sex traffickers, ransomware, etc. And people, we come across a lot of our work. We come across money being capital flight from Nigeria in Bitcoin, etc. And we sometimes have to step in and stop these things. So it allows you to capture values, and that's thereby countries can now promote their own currency, and it's not promoting American dollar. There's no reliance on American dollar. And at the moment, only the smaller countries have started to do this. El Salvador, even Afghanistan have started to do this, Laos, etc., etc. But in time, with 82 countries developing their own, you will find the release of cryptocurrencies with values attached to them that push the values of the country and promote it globally. The other part, there are many other features of this digital revolution which are which you cannot do with just cash. So in Nigeria, we have a big oil. As you know, oil is one of the big resources in the country. So over there, in the UK, we are now developing for a company called Wildcat, a petroleum company on the FTSE 100, a system to democratize the investment of money into oil, gas, petroleum fields. And the way it works, normally petroleum fields are big business and big institutions and big petroleum companies invest in them. People like you and I cannot invest in them because our money is too small. You would have heard of a thing called NFT. NFT, non-fungible tokens, is storming the art world because it's a way to recognize something digital as your own, okay, of ownership. And so now we're developing a system where someone for $5 on just a world map can say, I pick on that square, on that place, and that square meter is mine. If you find oil or gas there, I will take a portion of the royalties from that. So it allows ordinary people to start using a digital map of the world to invest in areas around the world. So these are, some of the interesting revolutions that are happening, in this world. If I go back to the other kind of values that many places now use, like suppliers, you can say to countries in the supply chain industry, you can say to customers and suppliers, I will pay you 99% cash, and I will pay you 1% of your money in our own Coca-Cola token, let's say. And you can only get that 1% into money if you follow these guidance, these rules. You cannot have modern slavery in your supply chain. You cannot use unsustainable products. You cannot use children in your supply chain. You've got to not use harsh chemicals. It's bribery. We do not want bribery to be used in the course of your work. And you've got to sign up. And if you do agree to those values and they can monitor it digitally, then you'll be able to actually value the 1 or 2%. Because the thing that's happened with digital value is that everything is a value, isn't it? Yes, money is a value. Diamonds is a value. Oil is value. Tangible things are valuable. But so happiness and love and hope and stuff like that. And so the way we now move is much more towards the ideologies that are driving our society. So it's a real revolution. I would say to you, honestly, I was unaware of this a decade ago when I retired in 2008. I only understood financial value. I did not understand anything else. All I was interested in is, can I have another house? Can I have another car? But in the end, I was lucky in many ways to be able to retire early and start to think, what are the currencies of non-financial value? So we started moving into these areas, and it's become a global movement. There are many great people involved in this area. Certainly, I'm not trying to promote us or anything else. Our focus is on the movement of non-financial value. We're doing, for example, a big project next week we launch internationally called the Purple with Purpose, disability coin, if you like, to empower those of disabilities, of which, have a guess, what percentage of the world's population are disabled? 20%. 20% of the world's population are disabled, whether it's physical or mental health. And yet, do you know their data is not even monitored by Facebook or Amazon or monitored by the Chinese government, because they do not consider the disabled to be of sufficient importance to be able to extract value from them, okay? And yet their spending power is $13 trillion. So this gives you an idea of the new dynamics that we're all moving towards, okay? So I've just, tried to give you a flavor, this whole sector that's germane to digitization of value and the transformation the digital world allows us to do is called the fourth industrial revolution. It consists of blockchain, which people know it as the technology behind Bitcoin, as movement of assets, of any digital assets, of AI, and things like Alexa and Siri, etc. And the future world is not about, what time is it, Alexa? What's the weather in Nairobi? The future world is now, about actually, Alexa, what should I be doing? Find me some products which are aligned to my value sets. Find me things which I can afford, but are nevertheless aligned to my values. AI is followed by Internet of Things. With Internet of Things, you can track products around the world. As we know, supply chains, the COVID situation has completely decimated supply chains, not only tracking of where they are, but allowing them into the country. The work we're doing in the UK post-Brexit is because we're trying to find actually how we can do agreements between countries, not based on 10 years of work to put an agreement together, but simply setting values in code, in digital code, and the suppliers have to meet with those codes, agree to those codes, and then it flows automatically. And then 5G, one of my businesses, or several of my businesses before I retired, were based in Africa. I was the biggest supplier of mobile phones in Africa to Vodacom, MTN, Go, all that, etc. Before I retired. During the heydays, I have to say, when things were growing 16 times a year and so on. Not now, I'm sure. But Africa has been a big embracer of the mobile phone technology for reasons which you well know, because land infrastructure is poor, so anything wireless is much more sustainable and scalable. But payment solutions, as you will know, have been pioneered in Africa. The only other part of the world that are pioneered are in China. Alipay is around 1 million transactions a second. WeChat Pay, these are peer-to-peer systems where middlemen are not involved, okay? So Africa has pioneered in this, and I and many others foresee that actually Africa will pioneer in the areas of fourth industrial revolution. So remember those four things: blockchain, AI, Internet of Things, and 5G, because 5G allows us to not just faster data, but you cannot do driverless cars without 5G, really. You can't have a car heading towards a wall and it going, I'll just contact the server, right, to find out what to do. It's got to be super fast and immediate. You've got to be able to walk. You've got to be able to walk into a store, and the store automatically recognizes who you are. You don't have to show QR code, ID, and gives you a discount, etc. I'll give you an example of how that works. A few years ago, companies like Starbucks in the States had a lot of problems because they had bad credibility with Black people being thrown out of Starbucks in America. And they thought, well, this is not good. We got to do something positive. Our image is poor. And so if I now walk into Starbucks and I say, I like to pay for my latte with a KKK coin, they'll go, no, thank you, sir. Today, that is a currency we will not accept. If I pay it with my black coin, they'll say, sir, we'll give you a 35% discount automatically, because they recognize you represent a corpus of society that they want to extract and to bring into their area to bring value. None of this can you do with money, right? None of the stuff I've talked about can you do with simply cash. So following the cash now, which is how I was taught and what I did for most of my life, is now a little bit last Thursday. It's considered the old hat, not relevant to today. The large companies, Amazon, Facebook, Google, do not follow cash. They follow your data, and the cash follows that. And countries which are now watching you through data control and monitor your data and your spending and how money flows. So these things have changed the world, and it means accountants must now become also IT specialists and follow that. You know, because the question's not, even if you're a private accountant, people will come to you if they say to you, I've got 500 Bitcoins, how are you going to value that, my friend? How do you put that on the balance sheet? Because it's not so easy anymore, okay? These are the new challenges that you have to, we all have to get to familiarize ourselves with, the new opportunities. We have a friend, I met him when he was a meat packer in China at the age of 28, a meat packer. He could not read or write in Chinese. In 2018, a few years later, 5 years later, he moved into a $70 million house, cash, in California, okay? He understood that there are opportunities in the sector, and he was brave enough to take the, he's now worth, I think, about 30 to 40 billion because of the rise of the sector. So although there is, you know, a lot of fluctuations in the in this area, and I must give everyone a warning, and it's a very important warning, 95 to 98% of those who approach you for cryptocurrencies are scammers. 95 to 98%. So anyone who approaches you about tokens, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, anything like this, then assume they're a scammer. You will be very close to the truth. Assume they're a scammer until they prove themselves right. And in most cases, the other thing about this area is because it's digital, if you lose something, you use it forever often. That means 20% of cryptocurrencies are hacked. That means 20% of money in your wallet, digital wallet, is hacked by others, disappears. We once raised a lot of money and put $4.8 million was taken from us in 2 days, 48 hours. And whoosh, gone. And what? And it was the laptops taken from China, and we found the money in someone's laptop in Brazil. And because you're now working in a sector that's not regular and is unregulated, it would mean that quite often you do not know, you cannot get hold of it, and the money has gone forever. That means once you've sent the money, you have lost it. Even if it's not received at the other end, you've lost it. In our case, because we're quite a large body with about 1,000 staff, we've never totally lost anything. But we were lucky we got the 4.8 million back, but you don't resort to normal stuff like police, okay? Because they cannot help you in these situations generally. You know, this is a new kind of Wild West that we're moving into. And I know from my time in Africa that Africa is very familiar with Wild West culture and can actually benefit tremendously from it and lead the world with it. So I am going to end there and ask any questions. Don't feel you have to ask any questions. But, you know, if you ever want any advice or help, you know, we're here to help. We're a not-for-profit organization. We've been around 12 years, sometime, and we generally advise governments and corporates, etc. And sometimes, very rare, do we advise individuals if they're in trouble, usually, if they're in trouble, because they come and say, someone has stolen my money, and can you help? And we usually get it back from them. But generally speaking, you know, we're quite a serious body, and we just look at the movement of value, the measurement of value, the movement of value, and the transaction of value. And the thing about being able to tokenize things, you can then make transacted. So if you can tokenize something, in other words, if you can take any intangible, like love, anything like an area of country, or a particular culture, or a particular strata of society, youth, and tokenize. That means you say, these represent, let's say, 1,000 tokens for this. Then you can start to transact it using this technology, and you can deliver some social change, which is our interest, to deliver social change around the world. And that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please, a big round of applause for Professor Olinga Taeed. Always a pleasure listening to you once again. All right, at this point, we will be able to take questions. Let me also mention to all our online participants, please feel very free to drop us a message on the inbox, and then we will give you time to unmute yourself and ask your questions. But for those of us who are present right here in the hall, please, this is the time for questions. I'm sure we have room for as much as 3 questions here, and maybe perhaps 1 or 2 online. So do we have anyone with questions? All right, 1. I'll just take the first 3 hands. That's number 1. Who's going to be number 2? All right, please feel free to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. This is a very topical issue. And just in case you want to go beyond the main theme, you're also free to do so. I mean, in terms of questions. Okay, we have the second person. All right, well, I will hold on those thoughts for now. Again, please, online participants, feel very free to ask your questions. So, gentlemen, please, you might have to come to the podium. We just want Professor Olinga to be able to hear you audibly. Please, you can come to the podium, speak into the microphone, and then you will note down your question. And then almost immediately, I will invite the second person to also ask his questions, after which we will allow Prof to address them. Please, if you don't mind, tell us your name, and then just go ahead with the questions.
Morning. The Prof said about 20% of transactions cryptocurrencies are vulnerable to fraud. So my question is, what happens to the blockchain technology that's assumed to take care of these transactions?
Okay, so no, thank you.
Prof, did you get the question?
I just about heard the question.
All right. Now, let me invite the second person to also ask his question, and then perhaps you could address them all together. Please don't forget to tell us your name and then speak loudly to the microphone.
Gustav Remusba is my name. In the course of your presentation, you made mention of 4 things that we should take note of in this present situation. You made mention of blockchain, Internet of Things, and 5G. I did not pick the 4th one, please.
Thank you very much. Look, I don't know if you got those questions. All right, now I'd like to address those 2 questions, and then I can see that Dr. Tuli has a question online, but we'll hold on with Dr. Tuli for now. Let's allow Prof address these 2 questions. Professor Olinga, please. Yes,
okay. Sorry, yeah. Okay, for the last question, very simple. 4 things: blockchain, sometimes called distributed ledger technology, DLT, 1. The second is AI, artificial intelligence. The third is Internet of Things, IoT. and the fourth is 5G, the fourth industrial revolution. And there are four types of people who operate in this area. One are the speculators who simply like to buy cheap and sell high, and they can do it the next day or the same day. Second are those who believe this technology, this fourth industrial revolution, what's called 4IR technologies, will revolutionize the world. It's the new internet. It is, I mean, our market of blockchain, $103 trillion, is 10 times larger than the internet. That gives you an idea. The third who believe this new fourth industrial revolution technologies are faster and cheaper than existing ways we do it. And the fourth area, I believe, those who believe in this stuff as a religion. They are religious about this stuff. They believe one day bankers and accountants like you will be hanging on ropes from trees, okay? Because they believe that you only look at society through money eyes, and the world is changing. And indeed, COVID has changed that world, has it not? We've now learned health matters more than money. There's no point having money when you're dead. What changed me was when at 48, with 9 houses and 7 cars, my daughter still had a couple of breakdowns. And I thought, and now here's voices. So it changed me because it made me wonder, what's the point of accumulating money? So this is a change transformation. Okay, let's go to the first question about fraud. Let me tell you, there has never been a blockchain that's been broken. That doesn't mean no fraud. The blockchain has so far has never been hacked, because the way it was constructed, no one has found a way to fool the systems in blockchain to make you think there's been a transaction when there hasn't been. However, that doesn't mean that there are, as I said to you already, 98% of those who are in the sector are fraudulent, are hackers, and are out to scam you. And so you have to be super careful in this area. Now, what can you do to protect yourself? One of the first things is anything which is online is open to scam. So in the sector of cryptocurrencies, if you're going to store your money, store it in what's called a cold wallet. That means it's like a USB device about this big that's not online and cannot be thus hacked. If you have something online, then my friends, and that was the fault we had with 2 people in China, their 4.8 million was on, it wasn't even they were our customers, they weren't even our money. And it was because they left their computers online and somebody knew that was the case and hacked it. So there are steps you can take forward to protect the system. The blockchain itself is absolutely, so far, 100% secure, guaranteed. Fraud, however, happens when there are, to do with greed, of course, when there are ancillary services looking to expose the greed you have for something, and they exploit it and take that money. I would say to you honestly, in every day we get 2 or 3, we have a platform, we've never been hacked on that platform. We have about 15,000 attempts at hacking it a day. A lot, isn't it? But anyone who is here in banking will know that's nothing. Banking has more than that a day. Constantly people are trying to hack into banks. Okay, it's nothing new. So I'm not talking about changing human behavior, but I'm saying the fact that you can track and trace, and you can direct money into specific people and specific generations and specific projects using data tracking. So back to that, follow the data, not the money, because especially in this new cryptocurrency world, as this question says, once it's been hacked, frankly, most cases, you've lost it forever. You have lost it forever. And the chance of finding it, because it's anonymous from the sender to the receiver, is gone. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Olinga. Now we have one participant online. All right.
Okay.
Now the second question Sorry, we had a bit of an audio issue while we were addressing the second question. Could you please go right just a few minutes again? We had a bit of audio issue when we were addressing the first question. Sorry, the second question. If you could just please go right.
Sorry, the second question, well, you asked, or the second question I answered. So do you mean the question about what are the four areas?
Precisely.
That one, okay. So the four areas are: one, blockchain, which is often called DLT, distributed ledger technology. The second is artificial intelligence, with AI. The third is Internet of Things, IoT. And the fourth is 5G, mobile networks. These four are considered fourth industrial revolution technologies, 4IR for short, that are revolutionizing the world. And it's early days, but I would say to you by 2030, the currency of the world is not cash. Already, look at Afghanistan. Afghanistan, the argument there is it's not about money, is it? It's about ideology. American, British, now Chinese, Russian ideology. This has become the new battleground, how we move ideology. And many of the things I see, for example, over there here in your conference area in Nigeria, where they're trying to restrict money flight from the countries and also remittance of money back into the country, they're trying to control. It really is no point in trying to control money, because there are many ways now to push money in and out without anyone knowing. You've got to control the data. And with data, you can then control where it goes and how it comes, okay? These are the challenges.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we have one online participant, Dr. Taeed. Please, if you could just unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Tunde is my name. Thank you very much, Dr. Taeed. To an extent, my question has been answered. What I'd like to know, for some of us that have invested into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, what's your ultimate advice? And of course, the figure you mentioned is highly alarming. If 92 to 98% of cryptocurrency investment are likely to be a scam, it's very possible that many of us have found ourselves in the hand of scammers. How do we recover our money?
Okay. There's a very good question. Thank you, Dr. Tunde. Few parts to your question. First of all, it's 95 to 98%, not 92. When I talk to an audience of crypto people, if I say 95, they always go like this, higher. So scamming is the norm. So the people who are, I'll talk about the cryptocurrency market at the end. Is there a future investing in that area? But the people who are in the area are not always start out as bad. So often they start out, you know, like that religious type I said to you of the four types of people in the sector, who believe that cryptocurrency is like a new religion, and they believe they have good intentions, but then they find that they can't, the intention doesn't come through. And they this what decent guy, but he found it didn't work, and suddenly he found it's easier just to walk off with all the money, you know, so that you have yourself. Okay, they haven't got the basis of mature, because they're very young often, these guys, so they don't have the basis of correct ways of working. Now I want to finish then by saying is there a market there? So in the cryptocurrency world, there's something called going to the moon. The moon means about $1 million price for cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin, which started at nothing, 3 years ago, was say $3,000 to $4,000. Now it's $55,000. They want to get it to $1 million. I'm not here to give you financial advice, as you know. As good accountancy, you never say that you're here to, I'm not qualified to give financial advice. Most cryptocurrencies will fail. Most will fail, whether it's incompetence or fraud, will fail. Some have a chance of succeeding, and there's only less than a handful. The only ones that I would say, have a chance is Bitcoin, and the other is something called Ethereum. The reason why Bitcoin has a chance is because to get a value for that cryptocurrency at an exchange where you can swap it for cash, it's controlled. There's about six people in the world who can control, and 2 of them sit on one of our advisory committees, our main advisory committee. And they can transact like this. I can say the price today is $55,000. I want it to be $100,000. I say to my friend, who's also got a vast amount, I will sell you, you agree to buy from me $500 million of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, at this price of, let's say, $80,000. And he says yes, he buys it, and then secretly, because it's hidden, gives it back to me, the money. All right, through the same cryptocurrency, because it's hidden. So they have then artificially raised the price of cryptocurrency. And so because there's almost no one who's interested in cryptocurrency price going down, and all the actors are wishing to promote it to get it to $1 million, it's pretty well a good chance that it's going to keep going, okay? Not because it's a real value, but because it's a controlled, contrived market, all right?